11 years old, I start doing drugs. I'm smoking pot every day from 11 years old until 19 years old. At 19 years old, I have this big wake up call. I'm like, okay, I want to get my life together, but I can't get out of this trap. The best piece of advice my Ironman coach gave me, she said, set your criteria for quitting. Define what it will take for you to be okay walking away from all of this.
Outside of the industry, forget the skill set, forget the coaching and courses. What have you done to try to become better that has transferred over into business?
The most impactful thing I've ever seen is the people that I'm surrounded with. When I started surrounding myself with people that invest their money and think strategically, I noticed that impacting who I am.
If you had to achieve the goal or you're literally dead, what would you do? So we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Harry in the building, Harrison Coley. If you guys don't know him yet, you will. And I'm sure we're gonna get into a bunch of things, but we recently teamed up. We are now roommates and we're taking over the world together. We're here in Miami and we had to swing by the HQ to just rip a conversation. So no hard agenda, just let's open it up, man, and just get down to it.
Dude, yeah, thank you for having me on the show. I'm super stoked to be here. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm just another Instagram marketing guru, another course seller on the internet. Built a social media marketing agency, and more than anything else, I just love team. So Tristan just moved into the house like a month ago. Dog is all about team, people player. We were at a bar the other night. Tristan's been sober for 2 years.
Off and on, but I'm back on the wave.
Okay, Tristan's sober right now. We go to the bar with a whole bunch of sales team, a whole bunch of sales bros that Tristan's buddies with. And he's just buying shots and shots, bottles and bottles at the club. I'm like, Tristan, you don't drink, bro. He's like, I'm just here for the vibes. Everybody else drinks. So really, really awesome to have you in the house and just see the way that you're operating with people. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's really refreshing to be in a bigger fish, bigger pond type of situation. And so I was going to move to Miami and I was a day away from signing the lease on an apartment here, but I chose to move to Austin after our buddy Dylan connected us, and he just sent the Instagram reel that you did, kind of showed in the house, and he's like, hey, these guys are looking for a roommate. And so that's where we landed, man, and I couldn't have asked for a better situation. So for those who are catching up to speed, just moved to Austin. We're in the compound. If you don't know, you're gonna know. And if you're in Austin, you're probably aware of the Hype House, the compound, as we call it, and we're really looking to build more community-focused stuff in Austin, so I'm excited to be there, man. And yeah, I'm just all about trying to raise the tide in the space, and I'm sure we'll get into some business-specific, info-specific stuff, but we can give it a little bit of flavor with we're both into endurance, what we're trying to accomplish with the house, what we're trying to accomplish with our careers, and then the journey up and down and where it's going next. So maybe to kick things off, tell me a little bit about what you're up to right now with relaunching and like where are you at currently with how you're looking at business and your clients and what you're doing as far as like earning income.
Yeah, amazing. So I'm still in the online info space or the social media marketing space. I'm rebuilding a Instagram advertising agency. So my background, I was building just marketing agencies of all kinds. So originally got into Google Ads. Like my first thing in online marketing was Google search ads. Google search ads certified back in the day. And yeah, just kind of grew from there, doing websites, doing social media ads, doing DM appointment setting. Like that's kind of how I cut my teeth in the industry, was just trying a little bit of anything I could to make money with online marketing. And so ended up building an agency, left that in 2023, have spent the past year and a half consulting and working on some really awesome personal brands in the space. And then earlier this year, so in, I would say July of 2025, I've rebranded my company, and we're building now a full stack Instagram agency. So think growth operations, where we're managing everything from organic content to appointment setting to lead generation, paid ads, Instagram shout outs, the whole kit when it comes to an Instagram personal brand funnel for primarily info offers.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm not actually sure whether you're at liberty to share who you worked with in the past. Are you open to diving into that? Yeah,
I mean, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to work with some huge whales in the personal brand and online info space. So the former agency that I was the CEO of, we were blessed to have clients such as like ClickFunnels, Cardone Ventures, the Rainmaker family, Gerard Adams, Craig Ballandine, like some big boys in the space. So very, very blessed to have had that experience and be able to run a team working on those types of projects.
With what you're doing now, I'm sure you have tons of lessons and takeaways from your previous ventures, right? And you're running your own ship and you're doing things. are there any sort of like voices in your mind or thoughts or frameworks top of mind that you want to do differently now?
For sure.
This go around?
For sure.
Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we built the company was called Traffic Hive that I was the CEO of, and when we were running Traffic Hive, like there was this voice in the back of my mind about the online info and SMMA space that everybody in the space is just kind of there to get their bag. And so like we were really aggressive. It was like fight or flight, just absolutely burnout, drink a ton of caffeine, extremely tight deadlines of like 12-hour deadlines, 18-hour deadlines on projects. And the whole goal was to just print money. And I mean, we were doing millions of dollars a month through Instagram funnels for our clients. And that was really awesome to be able to get results like that. But the reality is like it didn't really have an impact outside of the echo chamber, which was social media marketing. And so now, taking some space or some time away, consulting, looking at the industry. I know, and for anybody listening, the past 2 years, I like built a Bible study and I started looking at other things like taking a finance program at Harvard. And I don't know if you knew that, but I just kind of want to like look at like, okay, there's so much in the online marketing space of like learn high ticket sales, run paid advertisements, start a personal brand. And it's like none of those are really skills that are applicable to outside industries versus like learning finance. Well, that's applicable in any industry, or project management or software development. And so the voice in the back of my head going into info this time and building another Instagram agency is like making sure we have a team culture, making sure that we have clients, and making sure that we have just like a delivery approach that's not just about being in the echo chamber, not just being selling courses to people that sell courses.
I think it's interesting because a lot of people either they choose sales or marketing to start. For me, it was sales, and marketing is something that I'm looking forward to doubling down on, and that's why I'm doing all this organic stuff and the content side of things, and I haven't really scratched that surface yet. A lot of people started out in marketing though, and they never really get into the sales side until that's the secondary thing. But hardly anybody starts out in like client success, fulfillment, right? And it's kind of like this black box, and I think that's such an untapped place. But as a business owner, for anybody listening, like if you just focus on client success as the number one metric and just obsess over that, everything else is going to be downstream. But I think a lot of people they get into marketing and that's the skill, and then they forget about the other parts. And so whenever you have people doing the info stuff, it's really easy to generate leads, or I shouldn't say easy, but it's pretty straightforward. But delivering a solution is a whole different thing. And what's so interesting now is like I've been in the high ticket sales space and sales specifically for the last 4 years, and it's evolved so much. And we've seen, drop shipping, Amazon FBA, Airbnb arbitrage, like whatever the thing is, right? Now, high ticket sales is the biz op.
Yes.
And I have a few different conflicting beliefs around it, because for a younger version of me, like if I met myself 3 or 4 years ago, I would be like, dude, you got to break into high ticket sales. So that's the advice that I would actually give somebody.
Yes.
However, a lot of people giving that advice, they basically did sales for like 3 months and now they want to go and coach the next guy.
And there's an incentive to it, right? It's like if I tell my friend to get into high ticket sales because I believe it's a good opportunity for him based on his personality and who he is, and I get nothing from it, that could be really good advice. If I'm paying my rent or my Lamborghini financing bill by telling you to get into high ticket sales, it might be a little bit different of like my heart posture and why I'm giving you that advice.
And I think like with some of the bigger names in the space, there's a bunch of people doing it really well. Like especially my buddy John, who we referred to a few times, and we had the pleasure of having him at the house like a week or two ago. Yeah, I think he's doing it really well. I really like what he's doing, and he's actually getting results for his clients. There are a few other people that are doing well in the space. I have a friend, a buddy I met through the internet, Austin Medlin. I really like what he's doing. There's a couple people, and Valentina, who's going to start coming up, and she's going to help people break in.
Austin came by the house like 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, I saw that he did the pod with Dylan there. So I like another one, Low Silver. I don't know if you've seen her. She does like this black cat sales. Yeah. I really like her stuff as well. And so there's a few people, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that I didn't think of.
The golden thread that I see, because like even the same thing in like the marketing space, we see guys like Jeremy Pogue who actually like have a good
shout out
marketing.
to Jeremy. Yeah,
like there's super solid offers in the space. I think the difference is like we see a lot of time like monkey see, monkey do, and then it's just a race to the bottom. So it's like the high ticket sales space went from selling funded trading in crypto to Amazon FBA and drop shipping to now it's just selling high ticket sales selling high ticket sales, which is the whole thing. But to your point of like, there's actually people doing it the right way. I think the reason why is they're not just approaching it as making money. It's, can I focus on client success? Can I focus on actually like, what am I delivering? What are my client success rates looking like? Am I actually offering the support necessary?
Yeah.
And the model's like how I've kind of, my understanding of the game has evolved. And I've seen this shift from the realization of like the traditional education system, like public school growing up was everybody just got the same thing. And whether you succeeded or failed, too bad, boohoo, that's up to you. Like you had a teacher, you should have been in class, you should have done your homework, it's your fault you failed, which is like a lot of the online info, high ticket sales type of space is like, well, what do you mean? Like you had calls, you had leads, like you're not making money, that's your fault. Or, oh, your clients aren't getting success, well, that's their fault because they're not doing what they need to be doing, which is like kind of that traditional education system. And I think we're seeing people in this space realizing that like the consulting label is more than that. It's like you're a tutor. You're the one responsible for your client success. And it just makes me really happy to see people like John, like Jeremy, that are actually taking that approach and taking responsibility to get their clients where they need to go.
Yeah, and I think like the hesitate, and like I love teaching sales. I'm a sales manager. I have 5 sales reps and I pour into them all day, every day. And I love doing it. Like I genuinely love helping them increase their skill set. And I've had to learn how to train people. And I was a really great closer, but top closers don't always become the best managers. And so I've really enjoyed the challenge of building a skill set of transferring it over to the reps and being kind of like 1 degree away from the revenue in a sense. But it's really hard, man, to get someone else those results. And so I think these gurus though, and everybody's just like doing the break into high ticket sales thing. And it's like the one thing I want to get out to the audience. And if you've seen any of my stuff so far, there's a little bit of a flavor of like, hey man, let's chill out with these earnings claims. Like to make 30 grand a month, it's really fucking difficult. Like it's really hard.
Yeah. You better not want to travel.
And so I don't want to discourage anybody from trying to go and set those outcomes. But one of the things that I'm going to repeat more and more is like, hey man, don't make it seem so straightforward when you really have to respect the mountain that you're trying to climb. And so I think that's what the gurus are kind of unfortunately like tainting the water with. It's like, hey, you have a Rolls Royce. Hey, you have all this stuff. Like you're crushing it. But that's because you sold the education, not because you actually got a Cullinan from closing deals one-on-one.
I saw this post on Instagram recently. There's a guy in the space. There's a guy in the teaching high ticket sales for high ticket sales. That I won't say his name on the podcast, but I saw
selling sales for selling sales.
Yes, exactly. Bro, I saw this post of him in the club and he's getting bottle service and the sign says like, thank you, high ticket sales. And I'm like, dude, you paid for those bottles with course sales, not with closer commissions. Like you talking about all this money you're making as a high ticket closer, all the money you're making comes from your course sales, not your closing.
Yeah, Dickie, my former boss and mentor and someone who's taught me a great deal, we were having a conversation about this at dinner, and the reason that he avoids the lifestyle content is because he's making money from the education business, not from the actual building a writing business, which is what he, has as far as PGA goes. And he is very careful about avoiding the lifestyle thing because it's like, hey, you didn't actually earn that from the thing. You earned that from selling shovels for the thing. Right.
Yes.
And so it's really interesting how it's all playing out. And I still have a lot of optimism around it. And I still think there's a blue ocean. But for anybody that's like coming up in the sales space, I would encourage you to just not try to be a sales coach. Just sell for like 2 more years. And then instead of saying like you're in your Instagram bio, like 500K cash collected, like teach me how about you do that 5 million, 10 million, right?
Yeah.
And so,
or just maybe the goal isn't to be like, if you're in sales, just do it for the love of sales.
And you don't, I think it's one thing I've been thinking about a lot is whenever you have teammates, and now that I'm in management, I have to think about taking care of my guys and painting a picture forward for them so that they're enthusiastic about taking those next steps. And it's not super clear to me that there's a straightforward path, right? And my good friend and mentor Temple talks about how like you need to go from B2C to B2B to sales management to like growth operations to back end building, product ladders, things like that. Same thing like with a mod, kind of going the COO route. And there's a pathway there.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be setter, closer, sales trainer course, right?
Yes.
And so when I think about my own offer, I'm conflicted there. I'm in a really good position right now because the offer that I manage, I could totally just double down and triple down on that and scale this thing to, 30, 50, 100 million, which is kind of the plan right now. And I'm really enjoying that. And we help product managers land roles at tech companies. And so it's a really good outcome. We're getting great results. It's not like selling shovels. It kind of is in a way, but it's more like we're just taking someone from point C to point D instead of 0 to 1. So I've been enjoying that. But if I were to create an offer of my own, it would probably not be sales training, because I love it, but there's got to be something else. And I think I was talking to a friend of mine, Daniel, who is also taking the skills that he's learned in the info space, and he's been trying to apply it to his own agency. He shared something where you can take these skills that you learn in info and apply them to other businesses that have more of a blue ocean.
Yes.
Right. And so, like you said, with the distribution, about taking it to a different education sector and applying it in a different way. And so it's really like the pulse on the market is everyone just kind of thinks they need to become a guru, and there's got to be a better way.
So kind of what I'm looking at right now is that the kind of like, what do we look at is like, what are the most adolescent industries in the world right now? We have social media and like content distribution in general. We have the modern sales space as we know it, like high ticket sales, one call closing. Like this psychological form of sales is very new. And then the other thing that's super new right now is like crypto. And it's like, okay, well, let's look at these three things. We have audience building and being able to speak to a large crowd of people en masse with social media. You have the ability to actually talk to someone's inner psyche and like their inner soul with this new method of sales. And then with crypto, you have like independent attribution and like very clear receipts, or like what is a transaction and like the legitimacy, like the record, the ledger is there. And so I'm like, okay, we have these three really awesome adolescent industries. But the concern for me is that they just stay isolated in this echo chamber. Because like all throughout history, what we've seen is someone will spend 10, 20, 30 years learning a craft like blacksmithing or like being a musician or whatever else. And then when you're like 40, 50, 60 years old, maybe 35, that's when you start teaching. And that's when you become the tutor to the apprentice of like the 20-year-old or the 15-year-old. And what's happening now is like in these adolescent industries, the crypto, sales, social media space, is you have like the 21-year-old mentoring the 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's good in a way of like the 21-year-old is one step ahead of the 15-year-old. So there's higher relevance. But the reality is like it's distracting for the 21-year-old because he stopped sharpening his axe.
Yeah.
So he's no longer learning his skills. Like my mentor told me, or one of my mentors, Bob, he's like, pay for skills, not experiences. Pay for skills, not access. Pay for skills, not situations. And I'm like, what does that even mean? He's like, the most important thing you'll ever do is develop more skills. And I was like, okay. He's like, always sharpen your axe. Dude's super successful. So I'm like, maybe I'll write that down somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm been thinking about that. And so like, I'm looking at this space and I'm like, okay, we have like all these, 25-year-old, like even us, like you're a sales manager, I'm a consultant. And the reality is like, I'm 24, you're 26, like you're 27, excuse me. We should not be like, well, it's awesome that we have the opportunity to teach the generation that is really our, like the generation below us, or help people break into the space because we're one step ahead.
Yep.
And the reality is like, we cannot allow that to distract us from understanding that I have 20, 30, 40, maybe 80 more years of applicable skills and learning. Yeah. So I need to stay sharp also. And that's the distraction that I've seen.
Yeah, I think it's important just to think about the timeline, right? Two things that come to mind. One of them is I've been reading the Hormozy internal closer handbook. And I got it from doing the pre-sale, like even before the webinar. It was like, if you buy 15 books, you'll get the closer handbook, like his internal like training manual. And I was like, hell yeah. So I bought that. And one of the things that he said, and it's literally like what he gives to his setters. Everybody starts as an appointment setter on his company, and then they go to closer, and then they have a straightforward pathway to go into directorship and all those things. But he basically said, there was like a one-liner or like a little paragraph in there that said something like, hey, whenever you are a setter and you hit a record month and you think you're ready for a promotion, go ahead and set a 6-month timer and keep doing it, because anybody can make 20 grand in a month. Anybody can crush it for a month.
You can get lucky.
But can you do it for 12 months consistently with all the ebbs and flows of your personal life, things like that, and with the fluctuation in the market, seasonality, things
lead
like that.
Lead flow changes, lead quality changes,
and so
100%.
You're right. Like it's important to extend the time horizon. One of my other mentors and my former boss, who's the co-founder of PGA, Nicholas Cole, who's Dickie's business partner, just a stellar entrepreneur. He didn't really monetize his skill set in a big way until about 10 years into the game. And so he ran an agency, a ghostwriting agency, and then scaled it up, scaled it back down. He wrote like 10 books, and then finally he monetized the skill, which is teaching people how to build a business like that. And it was like a decade, right? But then he monetized it in quote unquote overnight and shot up, right? Yeah. But he has that decade of compounding that they were able to capitalize on. And so
people do not understand that it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. I was telling you this in the car. My very first appointment setter, we were on the phone earlier today, and he's like, if I knew what you knew, I'd be doing $1 million a month. And I think what the perspective that I have that he might not have right now is the realization that I want my skills to continue to brew and accumulate. Of like, yes, I know I could sell out and just take the cash right now of what I've learned, but I'm like, the skills aren't quite there. Like the wine hasn't fully aged. So I'm like, I'm allowing that 10-year timeline to develop so that it's when you actually launch it, you can allow it to compound and it just clicks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think what I want to do is investigate more and more the info space. And I still am very optimistic, right? Like if you zoom out, we're only like 10 years into this game, right? Like 2013, 2014 is kind of when social media started taking off and Facebook ads and all the things you hear about the OGs in the space.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, we're only a decade in and industries go on for hundreds of years, right? So we're still very much in the wild, wild west. What would you say to someone who has all this noise going on? We talked a little bit about extending time horizons, but what else would you give to that, let's say that appointment setter that you're referring to, someone else in those kind of shoes early on? Like, what would you tell them that you wish you might have heard a few years back?
It's a great question. If I was talking to someone, anybody like trying to break into the online space or someone, let's say that's green and they're like, hey, what should I do next? The two things that I would remind them that I wish I heard on early on is like, number one, your character matters more than anything else. Like if you have to sleep on the street or stay with a friend on their couch, that matters more, or that your situation of like how much money you have and what kind of car you drive matters way less than whether people can trust your word, they can trust your handshake, you can go to bed at night knowing that you're doing something that's actually good. So I'd say like keeping your character as the most paramount thing is by far the most important reminder that I would give someone, especially in this industry coming in. And then the other thing that I would kind of note for them is like good times create weak men create bad times create strong men. And an early industry, like an emerging market, a blue ocean, like social media, like this online sales space, has been a great time. It's been really easy to make a lot of money on the internet. And so we've gotten a lot of people that have become unethical, that have become kind of lazy in how they're marketing or how they're delivering. Like you can sell a $15,000 coaching program and deliver nothing because the space has been so easy to do that. And so the big reminder that I would give someone specific to, let's say an appointment setter or like this new, they're trying to break into high ticket sales, they're trying to break into online info, is that we're entering hard times. And that means double down on the skill sets. What that means specifically is if I'm an appointment setter with no experience, the most important things I can do is focus on what are my actual things that I can control. Am I sending enough outbound DMs? Am I sending enough follow-ups? Am I qualifying the prospect the right way? Am I going through a setting process or setting procedure in an effective manner? And then like on a higher level or a meta perspective, like, am I picking the right offer? Am I on the right type of opportunity? Am I talking to the leads the right way? But understanding that the space as a whole, like we see higher distrust in the like consumer trust is at the lowest it's ever been. Content engagement is falling through the floor. Like people don't want to get sold some coaching program that delivers no results. And so that I think is a great opportunity to become a world-class appointment setter or sales guy or offer manager or offer owner and client success specialist. Because what that means is like you can actually focus on the skills and become exceptional. So that would be my advice is double down on the skills and keep your character above everything else.
Absolutely. I think to zoom in on the character point, right? Like one common theme, like we referred to a couple of names, right? And I said them, so I'm not going to say them again, but there's a couple names that are emerging as the bigger players in the space, and we just had them at our house, right? We hosted a dinner where folks like, including Dylan Vergara, Coley, some other big guys that aren't necessarily in the sales directly, but it was a sales meetup. So we had all the best sales guys in the space at our house. And then Dylan did the event, which was just phenomenal, by the way. Shout out to Dylan. What a rock star. It's small at the top. And we might not realize it, but that room of, let's say, 50 or 100 people, and then like the 20 people that were at the dinner, and then there's like the 10 people that are actually connecting afterwards, and it's like, then there's like a dozen, right? It's lonely at the top. Maybe not lonely, but it's small. It's a small circle, and everybody knows everybody. And so to zoom in on the character point, it's like, it takes like years to build up a great reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it.
Yes.
And that's like Warren Buffett said it, right? And so I think about that a lot. And for me, what I've done to try and increase my surface area for luck is I've always tried to leave places better than I found them and make a disproportionate amount of goodwill to the other person exchanged when I interact with them, right? So I always try to give people their flowers. I always try to make their life better in some way, connect dots, provide value, and give before taking or before asking, whether it's just encouraging people to have a good time or like buying a bottle, even though I don't drink. I always try to leave deposits, right? And I try to do it without expectation. So one of the big ones is, and I tell myself this every day, is like, expect nothing, appreciate everything, and be a go-giver instead of a go-getter, right? And obviously you'll get from that. But yeah, man, the point is, it's small at the top. And if you make a few good connections, like I have one guy that I'm referring to a couple of different offers and I'm really trying to help him succeed. He's going to succeed because he knows me and I'm going to put him somewhere in a good position. So it's really about relationships. It's getting in the right rooms. It's trying to delay wanting all this leverage and this time freedom and stuff, right? So a lot of people get lost in the sauce when it comes to Instagram and they see all these people on the beach and stuff and the wrong expectations, man. It's like, look, dude, you don't need leverage right now, right? Like, this isn't the time for leverage. And so you need to take like 10 calls a day and you need to do like 400 dials a day. There's no leverage, right? It's one-to-one. It's put in and get out. It is a performance-based vehicle, so you can make a lot for your time input and you can control your income, but don't look for leverage. Look for skill acquisition, like you said. And so that's the biggest thing I'd give too. I would love to understand a little bit more because we have some commonalities around like some of our hobbies and stuff like that we've done, and we have a similar flavor of upbringing and exposure to different experiences. I'd love to understand outside of the industry, like forget the networking events, forget the skill set, forget the coaching and courses. What have you done and what have you put yourself through to try to become better that has transferred over into business?
Yeah, I think that the things that I've done that have transferred into business or that I've seen like kind of correlation, obviously correlation is not causation, but the things that I've engaged in personally that I've seen kind of direct influence. The most impactful thing I've ever seen is the people that I'm surrounded with. So like I got into substance abuse, which is pretty public knowledge, at a very young age. And I was around a crowd of people that enjoyed abusing substances. Surprise, surprise. And then I find myself, when I'm 20 years old, I'm working a blue collar job. Well, 19 years old, working a blue collar job, shredding paper. And I kind of expected that to be my life. And my heart wanted something great, but like the people around me were doing this thing. And so I just did this thing. And when I broke into the online space and the endurance space, running an Ironman, like when I started surrounding myself with people that run Ironmans and ultra marathons, and I started surrounding myself with people that invest their money and think strategically and, actually have some ambition or care for themselves, I noticed that impacting who I am. Like that saying, you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. I find that extremely applicable. So I would say that is like by far the most impactful thing I've done, is understanding that like whole cheesy quote of like your net worth is your network is super real, but it's super uncomfortable. So when I was 20 years old, I signed up for an Ironman. And think about, like, I started smoking.
You did that when you were 20?
20 years old. So think about this. I'll set the frame. 11 years old, I start doing drugs. I'm smoking pot every day from 11 years old until 18, 19 years old. I'm talking like copious amounts of marijuana, substance abuse, and I'm vaping the whole, like, I can't run a mile to save my life. I think in 7th grade, I had to run a mile. I think I ran it in like 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, I can't run. My lungs are completely shot. 19 years old, I have this big wake up call. I'm like, okay, I want to get my life together. But I can't get out of this trap. Like, I'm still hanging out with the same guys. I'm still smoking pot every day. I'm like watching the anime in the morning. No, I had moved to Denver. So now I'm alone. I'm in this apartment by myself, like just feeling like a loser, working this blue collar job, smoking pot all day, just kind of miserable.
New friends, same outcomes, same.
Yeah.
Conducive. Okay.
Same type of friends, right? It's like new environment, but same environment. New environment, same environment. Like I had moved and I had put myself in a new location, but I'd surrounded myself with the same things that confirmed who I was. Like I still was smoking vapes and pot and whatever else. And what ended up happening is I was like, I need to get out of this. Like I got desperate and I didn't want this to be my life. Like I realized that I'm just numb and I'm miserable and I'm bored and I'm just coping. Like really, I'm just trying to make the pain go away. And I'm getting by day by day. I'm saving money from my job. Like my life is, albeit not terrible. Like I have a clear plan for the future. What ended up happening is I'm just like, no, I can't do this for the next 30 years of my life. Like this is stupid. Yeah. And my uncle or my mom's close friend, Paul from Canada, had run an Ironman. And I was like, I'm going to do an Ironman just out of desperation. So I call Paul. He's like, sign up right now. So I signed up, I spent the $1,000. I'm super uncomfortable. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is so stupid. Ended up finding a triathlon coach. Shout out Jeanette Sorensen. She's amazing. She competed at Kona. And so I find this Swedish lady, Jeanette, and she trains me for the Ironman. But being around her, being in a new environment, finding this person was extremely uncomfortable. Because like, I don't run, I don't bike, I don't go to the gym. And she's like telling me to do these things. And I'm like, you're stupid. Like, no.
Good question.
Go ahead.
So you said it was uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
And you said that word a few times. Was it at that point that you started getting excited though, because you had something to latch onto, kind of like a pillar? Or was it still just like, kind of like, I don't even know if this is going to lead to the outcome that I want, and it's all uncomfortable? Was there a little glimmer? Like, where did the hope come in? Because it sounds to me like you made this kind of like siren call, like I need to do something, anything.
Yes.
Picked an Ironman, started putting something together, and that became like a pillar.
Yes.
Was the hope there yet, or was it around the corner?
I think, I've always had the hope, because
Sure.
I've always had a belief in God. I've always known that there's something bigger. And like, I've always like in my heart genuinely believed that like I'm capable of doing something.
Sure.
Like, I'm very, very grateful that like I've always believed that there's possibility.
Yeah.
I think the pendulum would swing. And it's like one moment or one day I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get sober. My life is going to, and like, these are like, I'm sober for 8 hours or 2 days or whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm getting my life together. Or like, I have my savings. I'm like, I'm going to do this. Or I go on a 2-mile run. I'm like, I'm an Ironman. Like, I'd have those days. And then I'd have these days where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I getting up at 4 a.m. to go on a run? Like, this is so lame. Like, just sleep in. Or, I only have like 10 grand saved. Like, I'm never going to be rich. Or I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, I'm never going to be in. And so I think, there's the oscillation. But what I did, I think the distinction is like, I found the point that was farthest away from who I was, or the identity that was farthest away from who I was. So like Ironman, millionaire, in good shape, someone that actually like likes being himself, is social. At this point I had no friends. So I'd like moved to Denver, and like the people I work with are the only people I talk to. And I'm like, I want to be social. I want to be active, all these things. And so I picked this identity that's like way far away. And then now there's this huge gap. And so there's like all this anxiety and doubt and concern of like, am I going to make it there? But I started just making little moves. And I think as I'm making those little moves towards my end goal, I would have moments where I'm like focused on the gap in between where I am and where I want to be. And I'd get overwhelmed. I'd get afraid of failing. I'd get whatever else. And then there's moments where I'd look backwards and be like, no, I'm making progress. I got this. I'm actually going to be the guy that I want to become.
And so you sign up for the Ironman. How much time was in between signing up and actually doing it?
January of 2021, I signed up. I ran it 3 days after my 21st birthday on November 21st of 2021.
In terms of like your growth in that, 10-month phase, would you say that was one of the biggest growth periods for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. During that time. So like, I didn't realize that I didn't trust myself at all, that all this anxiety and like self-isolation and self-sabotage was really just from behavior patterns, right? Like the Gandhi quote that's like, your thoughts create your actions become habits, habits become behaviors become beliefs, and beliefs become destiny, or however it goes. I didn't realize
Something like that.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that I was just acting like a shithead. Like my whole, like I was, skirting around the truth. I wasn't following through on my word. I was inconsistent with my actions. I said I wanted something, but then I do something else. Like, if you want to know who someone really is, look at how they spend their time and how they commit to things. And if they do what they say they're going to do, like, I don't care what someone believes themselves to be. Like, if I want to know who you are, I'm going to look at how you spend your time and how you engage with people. And then I'll just reconcile that with like, who do they think they are versus how do they actually show up in the world?
I have a bunch of thoughts. So before I let it loose, I think one of the questions that I was posed by Patrick Bet-David, which I referred to him a lot because I consumed a ton of his content. Like, he was one of the first digital like mentors that I found, and I just latched onto it and I was like, this is great. And he had a conference, the Vault conference, and I think one of the bigger ideas, and it probably came before this, but somewhere along the lines, he had this like, who do you want to be?
Yes.
And I was just like, yes, that's the question, right? And I just really hung on to that. I was like, who do I want to be? And I think that whenever you set a goal, the reason people don't really set goals and get them super clear is because it immediately announces what failure looks like.
Yes.
That's one thing. And then it exposes all of your inadequacies.
Yes. It tells you where you're incorrect.
So you sign up for this marathon and you're like, oh my God, I can't even trust myself.
Yeah.
Because it's relative to the goal that you're setting.
Yes.
And so like the word sin, it means to miss the mark. It's like an archery term. And
yeah,
so,
it's a Hebrew term.
Yeah. And so it's like, if you know what the bullseye is and you have an aim, then you can clearly see when you're falling off of it, right? And it's kind of like in sales and business, like you set projections. And if you have the projections and the forecasting, you can measure yourself against that and it'll tell you whether you're behind or ahead or right on pace, right? And so many people are aimless, right? Like they don't have an aim. They don't have a clearly articulated outcome that they're trying to go get to. And that's why people are just lost, right? Like the definition of lost is aimless, and it's aimless because you don't have an aim. And so start with an aim. I think for anybody out there, that's why I'm so much an advocate of signing up for a marathon, because just like you, which it's crazy that you jumped straight to an Ironman race, right? I think you said you did a half marathon along the way or maybe beforehand, but
not a competitive, like just for training.
Got it. So not a real race. You just did a half marathon.
So only no athletics, Ironman.
Yep. What do you think people get wrong about that type of jump? Like a lot of people, you just like the most common thing I hear is like, oh, I could never do that. When people ask me about the 100-mile races or the 240 or the Ironman race, like, and I'm like, yeah, I just did this. And they're like, oh, I could never do that. What do you think people get wrong about the beliefs that got you to that outcome?
Yeah. So to your point of number one, there's a fear of even setting the goal of like saying, I'm going to accomplish this thing. So number one is you have to identify the outcome. And then I want to comment on this, and I'll kind of unpack and answer your question directly of why people are afraid or they say, I can't do this, and my own experience with it. But you mentioned the word sin, and the word sin is an archery term to miss one's mark. Now, I'm not a Jew, but there's a Jewish saying, and I love this Jewish saying, and I'm going to butcher it, and it's to throw a rock with a sling, which is like one of those, it's like a string with a pouch at the end, it's like a slingshot, and you throw a rock out of it. So there's this Hebrew saying that's to throw a rock with a sling. So think like just tossing a rock with a sling and hitting a single hair. And so it's a Hebrew saying for the opposite of a sin is to be so precise that I can like whip a rock at like 100 miles an hour out of a slingshot and hit a single hair, be that precise with my aims. And so when you set these big goals or any goal, to have it be specific, measurable, to be a SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable. I don't like that word. I think accurate is better. I forget the R and the T, but
realistic, timely.
Realistic and timely. Why does that have to be realistic?
I don't. It might be realistic.
I'm like, I want a big, hairy, audacious goal. I want big goals. And that's also the thing for me of like little things, mediocrity doesn't interest me. And so like running a marathon, I'm like, I could do that. An Ironman, I'm like, I don't think I could do that. And this is, I have to go to battle with my ego. So first thing is like, you have to sign up for something or do something that actually interests you. And I think that's where a lot of people fail immediately is they're like, oh, I couldn't do that because they either believe that they already can. They're like, they have the ego of like, that's not interesting. I know I could do it if I wanted. Like anybody can do that if they want to. Or they just feel like a loser. And so they actually maybe need to do something a little bit closer to home. And to your point, it's like as soon as you actually commit to doing something like 75 hard or an Ironman or a marathon, or anything else, calling 100 people, like as a sales rep or a setter, it's like, I'm going to do 100 dials today. I'm going to do 500 DMs today. Like whatever your KPI is, like as soon as you define that objective, now you're a liar or you're in integrity. And so that's, I think, the gap is like what happens is you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. And when you have a standard, when you have an expectation or an outcome that you're trying to attain, people a lot of the time just don't set standards to complete that and they fall through the floor. So that is, I think why a lot of people, I don't think that they trust themselves to set standards or to follow through with them. And so then they just go, oh, well, I couldn't do that. And it's like, dude, you gotta, maybe you need a big goal, but maybe you just need to start small of committing to waking up at the same time every day or doing 100 push-ups a day. And that builds, to your point, that makes deposits, not with other people, but with your own internal psyche to say, I am who I say I am. I do what I say I do. And when you do that, you asked, like, did this 10 months of training for the Ironman change my life? Well, first it started with Ironman training. Then somehow I built enough trust to quit my job. And then somehow I built enough trust to start my marketing agency. And then I went through an emotional intelligence training that legitimately changed my life. It's the reason I'm in Austin. It's the reason I host community events. It's the reason I speak the way that I speak, or that I've like cleaned up all of my own shit and I'm still cleaning it up. And so like that 10-month part of my life was a critical period of growth. There's critical periods in our lives, right? And the reason it was critical is because I set this massive goal that required me to completely reinvent myself. And then along the way, I just continued to increase the level of trust I had in myself to take big leaps and to stare into the abyss. But I couldn't, if I stared into the abyss without the level of trust and relationship I had with myself through those little micro behaviors, I would have just been consumed by the abyss. I would have fallen into the void and probably not returned or not come out safely. And so I'm like, okay, the micro behaviors, what I do every single day, I am what I do daily. If I can just obsess on those things and be the character that cleans the toilet seat, that shows up on time, that does these things that are super micro that don't seem to matter. If I do all those things, and then I also have this massive impossible goal that doesn't seem realistic, I can fall into that abyss and not be consumed by it.
There's great long-winded rant on the beliefs and
the monologue.
I think really, man, the idea that I'm trying to pull out is, and this might not be relevant for everybody, and this might not be the approach that everyone can apply, but it seems to me that you have some sort of delusional optimism, or you've built that out of sheer need, right? Or you did it. I think confidence comes from evidence, and evidence comes from effort, right? And the inputs. And so if you do these things, you'll get more you'll get the evidence, and then that'll lead to the confidence. And so setting a big, hairy, audacious goal is one of the quickest ways just to go ahead and speed track that. And I think that's why I'm such a firm believer that everyone should run a marathon, and why I'm on a personal side quest to just like get people to the starting line of their first marathon, and I'll help them cross the finish line too, but that's on them. It shattered my beliefs too. So whenever I went out and went through the same kind of, what would you say, I was really lost, and I didn't really have a vehicle to apply any of the things that I was inhaling as far as information goes. The marathon just presented itself as a way for me to demonstrate that. And my friend Logan went on this big weight loss journey, lost 100 pounds in a year, signed up for a marathon. I was like, hey man, how can I support you? And he's like, I don't know, you can come and be in the stands or whatever. And I was like, what if I just signed up for the race? And it was in 3 weeks, and he's like, dude, I don't know if you can pull that off. And I'm like, well, of course I can. And I had a little bit of delusional optimism, but it really exposed the fact that I was way behind. And so, can I get to the gym every day and run 5 miles to close this gap? I don't know. Here, let's see if we can give it a shot, right? So when I did the marathon, part of it was just sheer willpower, which I think is a really like a gear that people should try to unlock for themselves, because we're so resilient, and people underestimate how much they can do if they have no choice.
Yes.
Or if they raise the stakes. And that's a lot of what I do as far as applying it to sales and projections and hitting the end of the month push and all those things. I just raise the stakes so high, and then kind of do this like or die mindset. It's like if you had to achieve the goal or you're literally dead, what would you do? You would figure it out, right?
Yes.
And I think that comes from some of my experiences where I've been in near-death situations, and I've been involuntarily exposed to situations where it's like, hey man, if you don't figure this out, like you're dead.
Yeah.
And people don't need that, right? I don't think people need to go through this traumatic thing, but if you can do that voluntarily by choice, it's way better. You know, like voluntary suffering is way better. And so what else do you think the Ironman did for you? Like go ahead.
You just reminded me this whole thing of like raising the stakes. The best piece of advice my Ironman coach gave me, shout out Jeanette. I just love Jeanette so much. She's the best. Changed my life. Is she gave me this piece of advice. She said, set your criteria for quitting. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, define what it will take for you to be okay walking away from all of this. And so I'm like, okay, what would it take? And I was like, if I break a bone, or if they disqualify me. So like if I literally run out of time on my Ironman, or something in my body physically snaps. Like I'm not talking like, oh, I feel like I'm dying. Oh, I'm so tired. Meh, meh, meh. If I break something, if I physically break a bone, then I'll tap out. And so like the Ironman gave me this opportunity to like go way past what I thought was possible, because I knew that unless these two conditions happen, I can't stop. And so I can slow down. I can walk instead of running. I can, be tired on my bike, but I can't stop. And like the Ironman was, I think, similar to you signing up for a marathon with 3 weeks notice, like the Ironman or the marathon or the Ironman, like how fast you run it or what place you place in the race, I think that demonstrates or shows your level of preparedness. And so like how much you trained, how precise you were, like in terms of like the precision and preparedness, I think that's demonstrated with the outcome of like how fast you ran, or the quality of the result is determined by preparedness. But the ability to accomplish the result, I think, simply comes down to willpower. Like my Ironman I was so underprepared and undertrained, even with 10 months, because I became a weekend warrior and, there's a lot of other issues going on. I was so tired. I was in the middle of the bike ride. I can't believe, middle of the bike ride, and my buddy Jacob had shown up to support me through this Ironman.
Shout out to Jacob.
Shout out Jacob. And I'm so exhausted. I'm on my bike. I don't remember this, but I guess I stopped and I went into a porta potty and I just stayed in a porta potty for like 20 minutes. I have no recollection of getting off my bike. And he was like, dude, I was like about to cheer you on, and I just see you like fall off your bike and stumble into a porta potty. I'm like, okay, cool. But I made it. I finished the race, and that's what matters. And I think, going back, it's like, number one, like doing the thing and accomplishing the result showed me that my willpower, and I have the willpower to accomplish this, and I can go farther than I believe I can go. And now if I'm going to run another race, or if I'm going to do something else, I now have this understanding of I'm capable of doing this. And now my result is simply a demonstration of my preparedness, of how much of how in integrity was I, how impeccable with my training, with my diet, with my coaching was I. And so that's where I think, there's these two different layers to accomplishing something difficult.
Yeah, I think that's what I want to give to the audience, right? It's like, just simply go sign up for a marathon. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you already know this, but when we did the sales event, I basically solicited signing up for a marathon to like 15 people, and I'm about to do it today. Matter of fact, this is me fully committing on camera to signing everybody up today. I'm going to sign like 15 people up for a marathon. I'll probably spend like, I don't know, $3 or $4 grand, but like that'll cause such a chain reaction that it'll be so worth it, right? So that's my version of giving deposits in this season. But we're going to do 15 plus people. It's probably going to be closer to 20, and I'd love to get it to 50 to do the Austin Marathon. Mm-hmm. And I'm convicted that it'll change their lives so much that the upside is just way, way beyond. And to your point, right? It's like, if you can sign up for a race, and it doesn't have to be a marathon, right? But that's what we'll use. Yes. And that's what personally resonates with me the most. If you can sign up for something that's whether it's publishing a book or anything, climbing a mountain or whatever, let's just say the marathon, you sign up for it and you have an opportunity to close that gap. And it's a deadline. People operate under deadlines in a very fascinating way. And I don't know what the psychology is behind it, but like deadlines just work, right? And so I would encourage everybody listening, go sign up for a marathon. And we're going to do the Austin Marathon in February. If you want to be a part of it, I'll drop a little form that you can fill out to come join us. And unfortunately, I can't sponsor anybody else because I'll go broke if I do. But for the folks that agreed to me to sign up for it and attempt it and complete it, hopefully, it's not guaranteed, by the way, right? You still got to go out and run the race. We're going to have a great time. We're going to set the bar higher, and we're going to break a lot of limiting beliefs. Yes. So before I found my footing in the sales space, right? Like I didn't choose, but just God like put me on this marathon wave. I read this book called The Alchemist, and I have an Arabic tattoo on my chest, which basically means it is written. Maktub in the book, it just talks about this idea of like free will versus destiny versus God's will. And I could get this wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be educated on it. But the idea of the book is that there's a destiny, a personal legend, they call it in the book, that's laid out for you. And it will announce itself through omens and signs from God. And it's like little signs from the universe, little droplets from God, just kind of leading you on the right direction. And for me, it was just like, okay, there's something here. And I'm just going to listen to these signs. I'm going to keep showing up. It was super up and down the whole entire time. But if you're willing to listen to those signs and take those opportunities, the coincidences and the synchronicities will start unfolding. And
the cool part is success or failure, like the glory is just being in the arena. And like the reward is in the journey itself or in the practice itself. And so it's like when you sign up for the marathon or when you set any goal, like the point of it is, yes, it's the accomplishment. And like, not only can I finish the marathon, but can I place in the marathon? Can I run competitively? Of course, but also like who I am becoming by training every day and through the diet and through the mindfulness, like that in and of itself is the reward, the practice, the discipline. And if you don't find the practice rewarding, I think inherently you're self-defeating and the goal might not actually be a goal worth pursuing.
Yeah, it's not the finish line, man. It's really not. It's the journey along the way. And it sounds so cliche, but cliches are there for a reason because they're usually true. Sure. And so what I've found is that with building a business and with putting all these pieces together, running marathons and ultras and these big ones, there's so much that you can translate.
Yes.
And I think the original question that got us here was like, what did the Ironman do for you? And what other things did you do outside of the industry that allowed you to succeed even more? And I'm not going to say it's all mindset, right? But it is, because in order to get somewhere, you have to first believe that it's even possible.
For sure.
And I think that's my sweet spot in the industry. Like, I'm here to break limiting beliefs.
I think to, kind of what we're saying about the mindset of like and tying it back into the sales industry of like the whole element is like opportunity selection. It's the pursuit of a worthy ideal with the belief of the ability to attain it. And so it's all, I'm going to pursue this thing because I like this thing and I enjoy the practice of this thing. And also I think I can actually become great at this thing. And it's like, if I can combine those two things, opportunity selection with the mindset of accomplishment, I will be okay in the end. And that's to kind of wrap up with my last thoughts on the sales space of, I think everybody in the sales space, like the goal or the accomplishment in SMMA or crypto or high ticket sales is making more money. It's $100,000 a month, $500,000 a month, $1 million a month, $10 million a month. And it feels so shallow because it doesn't matter how we get the money. It doesn't matter how we get to the goal. It's like, oh, I want to travel 26.2 miles. It doesn't matter if I drive a car, ride a bike, or run it. And it's like, no, it matters how you get to the destination. And so it's like, maybe the worthy ideal is, I want to help, 100 people get high ticket sales jobs. Or maybe the worthy ideal is, I want to not only make $100,000, but I want to help people get 500,000 views or 500 million views on socials. Now I have a worthwhile ideal that's defined by not only the distance I go, but how I get there. Do I ride a bike? Do I drive a car? Or do I run it?
Sure.
And so that's kind of my thoughts on the industry is like, the industry itself, like having a big goal of making a lot of money or breaking into sales or making 30K as a closer, awesome goal, but also define how you're going to get there in terms of what vehicle are you going to use. Are you going to just drive 26 miles or are you going to run it? So,
yeah, Noah Friedman gave me a question to think about whenever I moved to Austin. We were talking. He's like, well, what's really important to you, man? I was kind of asking him, like, how do I get here? And I want to do 100K a month. I want to do $1 million a month. It's like, well, that's cool. But like, how are you actually going to get there though? Because that matters way more than the actual outcome. And so choose your vehicles carefully, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. I think that you don't have to have the perfect thing. And anybody beginning in the very beginning, like if you're trying to pick a business or whatever, and everybody's like, just pick something. The reason that they say that is because you don't have to necessarily have the perfect thing. There's plenty of ways to make 10, 20, 50, 100K a month, whatever. But just pick something. And as long as it's directionally correct, then you're on the right track. And if you can just bat like 7 out of 10 on the decisions that you're making, you're going to be in great shape. And I just encourage everybody to think about zooming out and extending the time horizon that you're operating on. And one thing that I've learned as going from being a closer and like a top sales rep to being a manager and operating with founders and stepping into that bigger leadership capacity is that I don't think day to day anymore. I think month to month, I think quarter to quarter, I think year to year. And the founders, all the best ones, they play in decades, right? They set a mission statement that's like, over the next 10 years, we're going to achieve X. And it's going to be so grandiose that it's just way up there. And it's like, if you're not there, it can seem just way out of reach. A lot of times in the beginning, we have to think day to day. And if you're broke, you have to think about paying rent and you have to think about what does the next 10 days look like? Like, how am I going to get this $2,000 or whatever? But once you get a little bit of traction, you can zoom out a little bit. And the advice that I would give to anybody early on is just try to think bigger and on a longer time horizon. And if you feel behind, just zoom out. Maybe you feel behind because of last week or where you're at within the previous 90 days. But what about 2 years? How far have you come in 2 years? How far have you come in 3 years? How far have you come in 5 years? Oh my God, 5 years ago I was a shithead. My head was in my ass. And now I'm here. So it's like, we already made it.
I think I love that quote of like people overestimate what can change in a year and underestimate what can change in 5. And I think the marathon is actually the perfect example of like zooming out on longer time horizons of like if you don't know where you want to go, like you don't know if you want to be a calisthenic athlete or a marathon runner or a bodybuilder, like the best thing you can do is like work out today. Whether you go on a run or you lift weights, like just exercise because it's directionally aligned. But then like zooming out on the longer time horizon, it's like a marathon isn't accomplishable in one day. It's minimum, 3 weeks for you, but realistically it takes months of preparation to get ready for these things. And so it's like, if you don't know what that longer time horizon thing is of the marathon or of building this type of business, like the best possible thing you can do is be directionally aligned. And so it's like, okay, if I know long-term, I want to build a business or I want to, We'll use that. Of like, I want to build a business or I want to be financially successful. Directionally aligned things look like saving your money. They look like investing your money. They look like learning skills such as accounting and sales and client success and communication and marketing, like bedrock principles. Now, whether or not you have your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year company vision or your career plan lined out, it's like those are the marathons, the Ironmans. But what matters just as much if you don't know where you're going is like, let me just do the things today that actually get me closer, which is that violent. One of my mentors, Craig, he used to tell me, he's like, success loves speed. And so you just like today, right now, I know that long-term I want to be somewhere over there. So today I'm going to go on a run because I know whether it's going to be an Ironman or an ultra or a marathon, doesn't matter. I know a run will get me at least a little bit closer. And if I'm feeling insecure, I can just look at that and be like, am I doing the directionally aligned things? And that's the deposits with the self.
Yeah. And I'll end on one or two things on that, right? Like you mentioned something earlier, like the progressive realization of a worthy ideal or something to that effect. That's how, I think it's Dale Carnegie, I could be wrong, but that's how he defines success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And so we get fulfillment by moving closer to a goal. If the goalpost is too far away, then you're not going to get enough dopamine to keep you going. So it's important not to set it way too out in the future, like 5-year plan. It's like, dude.
Set something that you can actually see. That's
So what I'll give to the audience on the last note is like, pick a goal. Let's call it a 6-month goal, 3 to 6 month goal. Set your intention, declare it, and then do the things today that'll lead to that. And Jordan Peterson talks about like, take care of today and you don't have to worry about the future.
Yes.
Right? It's like the same thing, like tell the truth so you don't have to remember what you said.
Yes.
Right? It's like zoom in on today, do what you can, pick a goal, set it, reverse engineer, get some mentorship along the way, and just get out there and get after it.
Yeah.
So, dude, I appreciate you jumping on. I'm sure we can dive into plenty other things. Dude, we'll have to do a 2 hour.
Yeah, we could definitely keep going for a long time. I want to add one last comment of like running a marathon or climbing a mountain. Something that I've learned in my own personal journey is like, if I go out to climb a mountain in Colorado, I grew up in Colorado, is when I start the climb, I can see the tip of the mountain and I'm excited to get there and I'm full of all this willpower and I'm fresh and I have all this energy. And halfway up the mountain, I'm exhausted and I can't see the top of the mountain anymore. And I might only be able to see like 10 trees in front of me. And so like the goalpost that you're working towards can change based on how much energy you have, based on your perspective. And it's like Jordan Peterson's advice of like, if you're exhausted and depressed and tired and don't know where you're going and you just feel like you're just a liquid failure right now, just focus on getting to the next tree. Just get to the next like stop sign.
Clean your room.
Yeah, clean your room. Like go on a walk.
You'll know what to do next.
Touch grass, get some sunlight. And if you're full of energy and you've gotten all those things and you've cleaned your room and you've touched the grass and you have money in your bank account and you already feel like you're winning, maybe you can see the tip of the mountain and you can think rationally on a larger time horizon. But when you feel like when all you want to do is quit and you just want to go home and lie in bed, it's not the time to look at the top of the mountain and say, I'm going to climb this whole mountain. It's the time to just make it to the next tree. Yeah. And so, based on where you are, like understand where you are and meet yourself in that to set your goals. But Tristan, this has been amazing. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. Last thing. If you're on one of these marathons, as an analogy, whether it's an actual, you're preparing for a marathon or you're in some sort of vehicle that you're trying to get to an outcome and it's, hours, months, days, weeks, years, whatever, and you're in the middle, that's where most people give up. And there's so many, the reason I like the marathon is because you just have to put one foot in front of the other. It's just like business, right? Like if you think about next month, you might get lost in the sauce in your mind. But if you just think, oh, can you put one foot in front of the other? Can I take one more step? Yes. And then you make those little decisions and you break it down. Like you can't, it's kind of like you can't eat an elephant all at once. You have to slice it up. And so take one foot and put it in front of the other. Don't look at someone else's pace. Don't look behind you or you're going to trip and fall. Just focus on putting one foot in front of the other and run your race. And you're going to really, really enjoy it. And don't forget to look around and enjoy the scene. Like one thing that I've been trying to do, instead of saying like when I make it or when I'm going to make it, it's like, dude, we already made it. Like we're living this life. Like God is just so amazing, man. You're doing the things every day and that's what matters. So dude, let's pick up on this conversation soon and we'll rip it for longer next time. Yeah, amazing. If people want a part 2, they should send you a DM. Everybody absolutely. DM Tristan at Tristan Workman. Let's on Instagram. Go, boys. Send him a DM. Say part 2 with Harrison, please. Let's roll. If you want to connect with me at the Harrison Coley, so that's TheHarrisonColey. Let's hit it, man. Thank you, brother. W's in the chat, boys.